In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying. Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog.
Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that lives in the now and not in the past, the chicken. What up, dog?
Been doing this long enough. If you live in the past, you will certainly die there. You got to move on.
Yeah,
Move on.
you gotta move on, man. So, look, man, we are in week 4 of the forecast show. It's exciting. It's great, but it's also, in my opinion, a little sad. We're already in week 4. That sucks. I mean, that sucks is a Christian cuss word. I'm just saying, you're allowed to say that. But look, man, before we start getting into some of these games, there's a couple things I want to talk about. First and foremost, let's talk about this week's dog bark. I've only got a couple comments because we got a lot to talk about in this show, and most of them are kind of, these two are kind of funny. I like them. This guy came back and said, referring to, because a lot of these guys are going back to some of these old dog barks, man, as the season comes, as things that we were saying. And so this one goes back to the Texas-Ohio State game.
Okay.
It says, in my opinion, yep, Texas sure is Texas. Go drill oil and leave football to the national champs.
Wow.
Wow.
I understand and I appreciate the bravado.
You want me to tell you the guy's name?
Is he in class already?
Maybe. And I hope I'm saying this right. Guido, Guido. Guido.
I think that's Guido.
Is that Guido?
That's Guido. You were
Guido, Guido.
Samsonite.
That was Samsonite. I was way off. Guido 65 said that.
Well, you don't give me a lot of room to work with your handle there. So look, big guy. I appreciate the bravado. Ohio State is backing it up so far this year, but at this point, with the performance that we've seen from Arch, is that really one that you want to hang bragging rights on? Well, we beat them by a touchdown. The way he's looking, dude, maybe you should have hung more on there.
Yeah.
So I would just let it play out. I like the enthusiasm, but let it play out.
Do you think Guido, number 65, deserves to be in class yet? Not
yet. He's not remedial yet. I like where his thoughts are, but he's a little too eager. He's like that kid. Like, can we open presents yet? Can we? It's December the 1st.
That's right.
Hang on.
I do like he did say that. I was thinking drill, baby, drill. We'll leave that one alone. And then here comes another one off of the Florida episode. Another one. Remember, we had the clowns the other day. Remember, of Napier. Yeah. Here's another one. Now they turned their back on Napier. Now they're turning their back. Rex Reese had the comment and said, Lagway is a bust. Yeah.
Wow. Man, 5 picks is a lot. 5 picks, as I alluded to in the last episode, is certainly enough to torpedo a Heisman candidacy. Like, take him off the board if you haven't already, Florida fan. He's not bringing that home this year. I do think that the horrible performance that he had with 5 interceptions against LSU is still not enough to say that he is a bust as a quarterback and a bust as the Florida quarterback. I still think that there's room that he could bounce back. He could. Keep in mind, we're 3 games in. Now, that's, depending on how you look at it, that's a quarter of your season. Or it's 3 games in and you still got 9 to go. So there's a lot of opportunity left for him to right the ship. There's clearly frustration in that locker room. Let it sort out a little. I think it's too early to call him a bust. I think it's too early to call Florida's season a bust. Is it?
I do too.
Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be rocky? Yeah, it's shaping up that way. But I think bust might be too strong of a word right now. That's jumping the gun a smidge. We got two guys so far this morning that are wanting to open gifts on December 1. I think just simmer down. Give it a second.
Simmer down.
Back on the couch.
Also back that up with something. And although I don't know if you will agree with this statement or not, but last year, Carson Beck had those games where he threw 3 or 4 interceptions, right? And it didn't look good, but he bounced back week to week. I mean, yes, he had a lot of interceptions at Georgia. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to say that. But he also threw for 3,600 yards and won a lot of good games. He took Georgia to the SEC championship. I'm not saying Lagway is going to take Florida to the SEC championship. I'm not saying that at all. But don't throw your quarterback under the bus just yet for having one bad game. 5 interceptions, not a good look. But it was one game. Give the kid a shot.
Yeah, and again, I've gone back to Quincy Carter because he's the only guy that I can remember that in SEC play threw 5 picks in one game. Georgia was not a championship team back then. I think that was 2000. It might have been 2001 for that game, but they weren't a championship team then. But they were still Georgia. They weren't at the bottom of the barrel of the conference. They were still fighting it out, but they still bounced back, and I'm pretty sure they went to a bowl game that year. Quincy Carter wasn't a bust. He ended up getting into the NFL, playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So it wasn't as, earth-shattering as it's being made out to be in this dog bark, but there's still hope. You ain't winning the Heisman. You're not bringing home the national championship to Gainesville. That's proven, but a little too early to say.
Yeah, and I would even go on to say that just hang tight. Yes, he may have an up and down season this year, but remember, he didn't play all of last year. Remember, he came in and took over from, God, I can't remember the guy's name, Mertz.
Yeah.
Graham Mertz. He took over from Graham Mertz and played very well when he stayed healthy. Lagway did. So I would just say, look, man, this guy's a true sophomore. Give him some time. I think he could be a very good staple in the Florida locker room. I do. I think the kid's definitely got some talent, without a doubt. Next thing I want to talk about, some news that just hit. As it stands, speaking of DJ Lagway, speaking of Heisman that you just mentioned, they're saying Mateer and Carson Beck, John Mateer from Oklahoma and Carson Beck out of Miami, are now the faves to win the Heisman. Man, look how things have changed, man. I mean, it was Arch, Lagway, Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier. Those 4 names were the ones that everyone was talking about, and now they're not.
Well,
now it's still early.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Again, this is another too early to talk about. We're only 3 games in. I think if you base it on that snapshot, for me, I would look at Mateer out of Oklahoma. He's off to a roaring start for the Sooners. To me, and I know that you still like the guy, and I don't dislike Carson Beck. But for me, Carson Beck's name being in there is one of those, God, there's really nobody else doing anything. It's, Carson doesn't look like trash yet, so let's bring him in. He's an also-ran for me. We've made the comment before. Carson is doing what Carson does in Miami. The only thing that changed is the initial on the side of the helmet. He's consistent. He is going to be a good NFL quarterback. No doubt. Let me say that. I'll make that statement. I don't bet, so I'm not putting money on it, so nobody can come back and collect later. But you heard me say it here, September the 17th. I believe that Carson Beck is going to be a good NFL quarterback. That said, he doesn't do anything that makes, in my eyes, him the brightest bulb in the chandelier. He's not bad, he's not dim, he's not dull, but he's not the guy that stands out and wins Heisman trophies. He's the guy that works and operates in that system, manages it to a high level so that his team produces.
Correct.
And that's where Carson's stats come from, is in his efforts for team productivity. So if I had to say right now, based on the 3-game snapshot, I'd say Mateer is your guy. Nuss didn't have the game that he should have had against Florida. So, but again, way too early to say. I'm not going to eliminate anybody at this point other than Lagway. I've got other guys that were on that list that I'm not so sure about anymore, but Lagway is the only guy after a 5-pick performance that I'm going, yeah, he's probably out.
Yeah. And I would also say Arch is definitely out.
Arch is not doing anything to help himself.
No, he's not. It's not a good look. So here's the question mark that I have to you. Lenore Sellers, any updates?
None. And you can scratch your head and say, well, does that mean that no news is good news? Or does that mean that Beamer's just trying to be super coach and not tip his hand? Or does that mean that Beamer's sitting there going, I really don't know what we're going to do.
I don't know what to do
Saturday.
with my hands.
I have no idea. He said in his press conference that it was too early to say, that they would reevaluate and let us know something Wednesday afternoon. Whether or not that's just another update that we still don't know anything, I don't know. The comment, though, however, was it doesn't matter who we go with. And he listed literally everybody in the quarterback room with the exception of the quarterback coach. I think if janitorial staff had been in there at the time, he probably would have listed that guy. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. I personally believe this. I personally believe that Luke Doty should not be your guy.
I agree with that.
I understand that he's got the most time in system, that he's got time on the field in the SEC taking snaps. However, Luke Doty spent the last 2 seasons as a wide receiver in the wide receiver room, not as a quarterback in the wide receiver room, because we want to get him on the field somehow. He moved over to the wide receiver position. You've got Aaron Nolan that transferred in out of Ohio State. You've got Cutter Woods that was player of the year in the state of South Carolina when he was in high school. And he's been in the system now for a year. So he's been in practices. He's been in meetings. In my opinion, if Lenoris can't go, you go ahead and start getting those guys some experience. And I just personally, I don't think that it's fair to Luke Doty to say, hey, we need you to come back in and be the guy at quarterback because Sellers is down. I don't think it's fair to the team. Now, that's outside looking in, right? I don't see the chemistry that may or may not be there in practice, but that's just this guy's opinion, this chicken's opinion to say, I think you've got to look at either Noland or Woods as quarterback and go from there.
Yeah, I say if Sellers can't go, I would like to see Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods in because they have the chance to become a gooch.
They've got the chance to become a gooch, and we weren't doing this show at the time, but as a fan of Carolina football, in my mind, the original gooch was Zeb Nolan at the University of South Carolina, where as a grad assistant, Beamer's first year, they had nowhere to go. Doty was going into the season. Luke Doty was going to be the starting quarterback. He got hurt and was out for the season, pal. He wasn't going to be able to play that year. So Beamer's looking around the room. He's got nobody. And so they find this guy, Zeb. Hey, man, he's a grad assistant on the staff. Don't you have some eligibility left? Zeb goes, well, yeah, I think I got a year. Suit up, dude. Suit up. And so Zeb Nolan becomes QB1 for the South Carolina Gamecocks that year and is instrumental. I hate to say this week after coming back off of a loss from him last week, but he's instrumental in a last-minute game-winning drive and touchdown pass against the Vanderbilt Commodores that year. So probably your original gooch. So all that to say, Shane's not foreign to having to work with some question marks at quarterback and making the best of a bad situation. I trust that he's going to figure out how to do that. And if it ends up being Doty on the field, then in my mind, that says that the staff says this is our best opportunity to win the ball game.
Yeah, I think Beamer's smart enough to try to go with the best person. I think maybe he thought Doty was the right one because the other guys haven't had enough time as that, with the first team offense in practice yet. because it was so much Sellers and this and that, and that Doty had the more experience, you better believe that Cutter Woods and Aaron Nolan were definitely getting some first-team reps this week. There's no doubt about that. So I believe that Shane's good enough and smart enough to know to put the right person in. And if it's Doty, then I say you have question marks with the other two backup quarterbacks for sure.
Well, and that said, prior to the injury last week to Sellers with the concussion protocol, we don't know how many snaps Doty was getting with the first team offense going into that game. He was listed as QB2 on the depth chart. There was no reason for anybody to think that, Lenoris was going to go down. Look at his escapability that he's had since he started taking snaps at quarterback. So there was no reason to think, oh, we're going to end up losing this guy. I guess it's better to start planning for a rainy day and praying for sunshine at the same time.
That's right. All right, so let's move. Well, first and foremost, we hope Sellers is a go. That's for sure. But most important, we hope that he gets healthy and doesn't come in prematurely and just to mess him up even more. We want him to come back. We love watching Sellers play football under center at Carolina. We just want the young man to be healthy. There's no doubt about that. All right, so let's get into the top 25 games. What games are in the top 25 that are non-SEC this week? And there are, the last few weeks, there's only been one or two, right? We got quite a bit this week, man. And so right at noon, a number 17 Texas Tech takes on a number 16 Utah. Both teams are 3-0. This is a Big 12 matchup. Great game. Should be. It's played in Salt Lake City. Utah is favored to win that game by 3.5 points. Over and under is 58.5. I think this is the game that we find out if all that NIL money paid off for Texas Tech.
Right now, the Utes, and I don't mean your cousin Vinny, just the Utah Utes are favored in the ESPN matchup predictor by 65% to win this ball game. It is at home for Utah, so the Red Raiders have got to get on the road, but this is a huge matchup. The number 16 Utah Utes, the number 17 Texas Tech Red Raiders, both in the Big 12. A lot of juice surrounding this game. I like Utah. In this ball game. I think Devin Dampier does throw his first pick of the season this week. I think that there's going to be some back and forth with Texas Tech, but I think that Utah rises above and the Utes come out victorious. I'm pulling for the Utes.
Yeah, I'm going to go Utes as well, just because I like the word Utes. Is that a reason?
The two Utes.
The two Utes. That's right. The next game that I think is very interesting, a number 21 Michigan, 2-1, is headed to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on Dylan Raiola and a 3-0 Nebraska. Another Big Ten conference match. Michigan is favored to win that game by 2.5 points. I'm going to call it because of my buddy Damon. He's a Nebraska guy, grew up in Nebraska. Look, I hate going over to his house and see all that Cornhusker stuff, but I love Damon. I'm going to say Dylan Raiola pulls out a win against Michigan.
This game lines up with the great matchups of yesteryear. Okay, Nebraska is not a garbage pail kid anymore. Nebraska is 3-0. They're unranked. So right now they are fighting for that recognition to say, we're back, and we're back with purpose.
That's
not
right.
Not just we're hovering around on the edge. Michigan right now 2-1, and they're just hanging in there as far as the top 25, but they want to climb back into this. Underwood at quarterback has been not as good as they've wanted this year, but there's still time. Right now, the matchup predictor has this as basically a split decision, pal. Nebraska, 50.3%. Michigan, 49.7%. It is in Nebraska. Big boy football. I like the Cornhuskers in this, and I like the Cornhuskers to knock Michigan out of the top 25 to make room for themselves at 4-0.
Yeah, I like it. And look, I mean, isn't college football better when Nebraska is relevant? I mean, you could go back and think about in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. Nebraska, I'm going to smack you in the mouth football. Hopefully they're back. Dylan Raiola and that coach, I can't remember, is it Matt Rule is their coach?
Yep.
I think he's doing a great job in that program, bringing them back to relevancy.
If you look at you've gone to Dylan a couple of times, and I want to bring that to the forefront. Wood for Michigan is 46 of 80 this year with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. Dylan Raiola, 72 of 94 with 8 touchdowns. This kid's lighting it up so far, man, and I look for a big show from him on Saturday.
Me too. I thought, he started last year as a true freshman. I mean, remember, Dylan Raiola was committed to Georgia and then realized his best place was to go to Nebraska. And look, I mean, you got to pick what's right for you, pal. I get that. And so he went to Nebraska, played as, started as a true freshman, didn't have the greatest season, had some flashes of greatness. You saw the talent there, but man, this is year 2 for him. Boy, does it looking good. The next game, even though I didn't think I would want to talk about this, but I think it's definitely relevant. A 2-1 Purdue takes a trip to South Bend, Indiana to take on a number 24-2 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is favored to win that game by 20.5 points. The over-under is 53.5. Look, I'm going to say Notre Dame wins that game. There's no doubt about that. But I think the implications that are on this game is if Notre Dame can't get this together, they're in trouble.
I agree. If they can't get this together, they are in trouble. Now let's back up just a second before we start waving the white flag for the Irish. Look at who their losses are to.
I agree with that.
Right? Some close games against some top competition. Notre Dame has not gone in and laid an egg against anybody. They went down to the absolute wire with A&M last week.
Correct.
And just didn't make it out. They just didn't make it out. The right things didn't go their way. And so the Aggies come away with the second loss for Notre Dame last week. Overwhelmingly, this matchup predictor has it at Notre Dame 93% to win this game, over a 7% for Purdue. They are in-state rivals. Purdue, I love the fact that you guys are off to a winning start. The first 25% of your season, you're coming away with a winning record. Look for that to level out on Saturday. I think the Irish put it on the Boilermakers. I think they beat them not only to win this game, but beat them so badly to make up for some of these close losses in the first 2 matchups. I like the Irish all the way in this one.
Yeah, and look, man, we got to remember a couple things. CJ Carr, the quarterback for the Irish, is a true freshman. And he hung with a number 5 Miami and now a number 10 Texas A&M. I mean, that's a good thing. I don't see Notre Dame's season going down from here. I see it going up without a shadow of a doubt.
Now, here's a quick chicken scratch moment. These are rare during the season, folks, so just perk your ears up because here it comes. An 0-2 Notre Dame. Should they drop this game to the Boilermakers in South Bend, and it's another close one, let's just say it's another close one, the Boilermakers just edge out the Irish on their own home turf, does Notre Dame stay in the top 25 at 0-3?
Yes. They love the Irish. Look, I'm even wearing the Irish colors.
There you go.
That could be. All right, so look, here's the next game that I think is really, really good. Another conference game. I love these conference games, man. This is where you start to see things shape up or unravel, right? So a number 9 Illinois rolls into Bloomington, Indiana to take on a number 19 Illinois 3-0. Indiana 3-0. And Illinois is favored to win that game by 5.5 points. 52.5 over and under. This should be a great, fun game to watch.
Man, this game is such a dead heat. Now, the matchup predictor, I'm going to go ahead and tell you before I dive into some of these stats. The matchup predictor has Indiana winning this game 62.8% to a 37.2% for the Illini, the Fighting Bulimics. But let me tell you something, folks. This game is a dead heat. At quarterback, Altmaier for Illinois 56 of 78 for 8 touchdowns on the year, okay? 6 of 78 for 8 touchdowns. Mendoza for Indiana, 55 of 76 for 9 touchdowns. Altmaier of Illinois, 709 yards through the air. Mendoza, 108 yards through the air. Are you kidding me? They are mirror images here on a stat line. It's just a stat line, folks. Don't get too excited. But let's look at the running back position, shall we? Fagan for Illinois, 50 carries, 3 touchdowns, 222 yards. Black for Indiana, 34 carries, 1 touchdown, 217 yards. So we're still producing things on the ground. At wideout, who's your best wideout? Betty for Illinois, 289 yards through the air with 1 touchdown. Cooper Jr. for Indiana, 299 yards through the air for 4 touchdowns. It's a dead heat, people. This is going to be a fun one to watch. The only thing that I can say is I would give an edge to Indiana because they are at home. But from personal experience, do not count out the Fighting Bulimics of Indiana. I will say this as a Gamecock, I don't like your head coach. However, your wide receivers coach, Coach Stepp, came from not only the University of South Carolina, he is a South Carolina native. Love the Palmetto State. I'm going with the Illini in this game.
I'm going to go with the Fighting Curtises as well. I think Illinois is what you described. They're about evenly matched as far as talent on the field, right? But what I think is the difference maker, although I know you don't like him, he tried to eat Shane Beamer last year, and he probably would have been successful. I saw his mouth move, and he was like, I'm hungry, I'm fat, I'm ready to go.
There's drool coming down. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It was not a good look. However, I think he's a better coach. At the end of the day, what's going to make the difference? It's going to be coaching in this game. And I think he's a better coach. That's why I'm going to give Illinois, the Fighting Curtises, the Bulimics, the win.
Another chicken scratch moment. Just you've inspired me today. Do you think that
That's what I do?
You know, when Coach Bielema has those moments, those confrontational moments on the field with another coach. You remember the Seinfeld episode where Kramer is bathing himself in butter to tan on the rooftop,
Yes.
And Newman comes along. I think Coach Bielema is Newman, and when he looks across the field, all he sees is a big turkey saying, hey, buddy.
I think so. He's licking his lips.
He's ready to go, pal. He's
So now-
not even arguing about football anymore. He's like, wow, that looks delicious.
So is his new name Newman?
Newman, all the way, all the way.
Newman. The last game I want to talk about that's not in the SEC is a 3-0 Michigan State taking on a number 25 3-0 Fighting Prophylactics Southern Cal. Another Big Ten matchup, conference play. Southern Cal is favored to win that game by 18.5. They are playing in LA. 56.5 over and under. Look, I'm going to be honest. I like Michigan State in this game. I do.
This game is the Battle of the Greeks. And no, I do not mean your favorite fraternity. We are lining up the Spartans against the Trojans, Fighting Prophylactics. At no point in my life will I ever say that the Trojans are going to win a ball game. I just won't. Your sole purpose is to play defense in the contraceptive world. And I will leave it at that. I will say, Michigan State, this is Sparta.
Yes. And that, my friend, leads us to what this show is all about, which is the greatest conference in the history of college football, the SEC. And let's start with these games. So first game of the day is a 2-1 Arkansas takes on a 3-0 Memphis in Memphis, Tennessee. Arkansas is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. 63.5 is the over and under. I'm going to go Arkansas, and I'm going to go Arkansas big. I think Green does after that close loss to Ole Miss last week, man, I think Green comes out and makes him another statement game. He had great stats last week, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The kid was on point. They just didn't do enough. And so I like Arkansas big in this game.
I do too. I think it was a heartbreaker last week. They're in Oxford for Arkansas. I think they bounce back. I think they bounce back in a big way. And I think that this is the week where Taylor Green says, I belong on that Heisman list just as much as anybody. He's already putting up Heisman numbers so far this year. He's got 866 yards through the air, 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's carried the ball 32 times for 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tell me this kid doesn't belong. This is a statement game for Arkansas and a statement game for Taylor Green.
University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB. A 2-1 UAB take on a number 15 Tennessee, also 2-1. Tennessee's favorite to win that game by 39.5, over and under 69.5. Tennessee goes down there and just waxes them, comes back after that, very close loss to Georgia and rebuilds if they would have lost any confidence, which in my opinion they should not have lost any confidence in that Georgia game, but they just get their feet right back in it. Tennessee wins big.
Yeah, I think as much as I would love to find something to say about the Blazers and their head coach Trent Dilfer, I just think that Tennessee is too much. I think it's another basketball score that they're going to put on the board there, and the Vols roll.
Right. This game we can spend some time on. A number 22, 3-0 Auburn takes on a number 11, 3-0 Oklahoma in Norman. And, SEC conference play again, man. Now we're getting in these conference games, which is fantastic. I like Oklahoma in this game as much as I hate to say that. I don't hate Auburn. I don't hate Oklahoma. I'm kind of pulling for Hugh Freeze a little bit. I think he's a good guy. I know some of the good things he's been doing in that program outside of football in Auburn. I think going to Liberty really changed this guy's mindset and how he views things in a very positive way. So I kind of pull for the Hugh Freezes, but I think at the end of the day, Venables has got this Oklahoma team, on a tear. John Mateer's killing it, and I didn't say this. Oklahoma is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. Over and under is 47.5. I think Oklahoma by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. I think that obviously they play two similar styles, but I think that there's more octane in the tank for the Sooners. Sooners are favored 65.3% versus an Auburn 34.7% on the predictor. Again, we talked about it. John Mateer, right? He's lighting it up. He's got 944 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions this year, 71 of 105. This guy's been accurate so far this year for the Sooners. They don't throw the ball as much in Auburn. Jackson Arnold, 48 of 69 for 4 touchdowns, 501 yards. So that's not their emphasis on the Plains. But, I think that Oklahoma and the Sooners, John Mateer is just going to be too much for Auburn on Saturday.
Yeah, and look, and I think we got to remember, man, they're playing in Norman. That's a tough environment, man. Those guys, they're kind of like that Alabama, right? Alabama doesn't have an NFL team to pull for. They just don't. So Oklahoma doesn't have an NFL team to pull for. So all of their focus is on college football in that state. And sorry for the Fighting Gundys, most of them are Norman fans. Not Newman, but Norman. There's a little bit of difference. So I think that's the difference maker without a shadow of a doubt. A 3-0 Tulane rolls into our favorite place, the Grove, Oxford, Mississippi, to take on a number 13, 3-0 Ole Miss. Ole Miss is favored to win that game by 11.5 points, over and under 61.5. Look, man, I know Tulane's 3-0, but we saw what Ole Miss did to Arkansas last week. I don't know who's under center, whether it's, was it Tony? Oh, Tony
Chambliss.
Yeah. Or Austin Simmons. Not sure, but I will say it doesn't matter. And I don't think that it's 11.5. I think it's 21.5 difference. I think Ole Miss just runs roughshod on these people.
Yeah, and in deference to Tulane, I'm not even going to pull up the matchup predictor for this one. Ole Miss is going to roll through you. It's not going to be pretty. It doesn't matter who's under center. I just think that Ole Miss is way too much for Tulane. This would be an historical upset if it goes opposite of what we're saying. I like Ole Miss by 3 touchdowns in this ball game.
Yeah. Another game that's on at 4:15. A 1-1 Northern Illinois takes on a 3-0 Mississippi State. Mississippi State is favored to win that game by 21.5, 49.5 over and under. Mississippi State goes 4-0. What an improvement from last year.
I mean, at that point, you've doubled your win total from last year. You're off to a 4-0 start. You've already won the first 25% of your season, Bulldog fan. So what a great year that they're having. I'm very excited for them. I do like Mississippi State in this ball game. They come out ahead in Starkville.
I don't think that's enough to put them in the top 25 because of who they've played and what their strength of schedule has been so far. But it doesn't matter. You've won 4 games, man. You are 4-0. What an improvement from last year. Great job. We're pulling for you.
That's right.
This game right here, man, this is a doozy, if you ask me. It's a 7:30 kickoff. A 1-2 Florida takes on a number 4, 3-0 Miami. In Miami, Miami is favored to win that game by 7.5 points. 51.5 is the over and under. I like Miami in this game. However, I think DJ Lagway comes back and has a very phenomenal game and plays very well against Miami, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
This is just another part of what's played out to be an extremely difficult schedule for the Gators this year.
Oh, yeah.
Number 4, Miami Hurricanes. You have to go to Miami to play this game. Carson Beck is doing what Carson Beck does. We've already talked about that. Miami is a team on a mission this year. They are 3-0. They are going to come out of this one at 4-0. Florida Gators, they're only giving you a 24.8% chance to win this game, and you haven't even kicked yet. I do agree with you. I think that this game, and I'm not one for moral victory, so don't get it confused, but I think that this can be a game that you can start to feel a little bit of confidence come back. Now, let me say that again. You can start to feel a little bit of confidence come back if DJ and the guys can get out there and put together a solid performance. On the year right now, DJ is 71 of 100. That's pretty good. 5 touchdowns through the air. Not bad. 6 interceptions. But let me rewind that just a smidge. 5 of them were in one game.
That's right.
So if he can clean some stuff up, then you might be looking at a much better Florida Gator on the field Saturday night. Miami's going to be too much for them to handle, but you can start to maybe see some progress going forward to give yourself a little bit of hope.
Well, I'll also say this. If DJ Lagway comes out in this game and performs well, cleans up his mistakes from last week, right, then that ought to show the alum and the AD at Florida that Billy Napier is your guy. Billy Napier it has to be instrumental this week as far as getting his quarterback ready for this number 4 Miami Hurricanes, right, in Miami. So, my opinion, I mean, look, I want Florida to win this game. I want to see Napier bounce back and have a great, solid win against Miami. Even though I'm a Carson Beck fan, I like Carson Beck, but I still think Miami's too much. But, man, could this be the game that really solidifies that Billy Napier is the right coach at Miami? I hope so. I mean, at Florida, excuse me. Here we go. A 1-2 Georgia State takes on a number 20, 3-0 Vanderbilt. Vandy's favored to win that game by 27.5 points. Over and under 53.5. Vandy kills them. Matter of fact, this was a game that took Vandy out last year. Georgia State upsetted Vandy. I don't think that happens this time. Georgia State might as well stay on Broad Street because they're playing in Tennessee. Just hang out, get some drinks, enjoy yourselves, listen to some great music, and don't even show up for the game.
But if you're of age, I know that there are probably in this day and age of college football, maybe 5 or 6 guys on the team that aren't 21 yet. But if you're of age, have some responsible activity down there on Broadway. But yeah, I think this is a different Vanderbilt team. Vanderbilt last year, they knew they were good. They had confidence that they were good, but still some of the things that we were seeing were still that upset activity that wow, we just knocked off Alabama after 40 years. Let's march the goalposts down to the river. This is not that Vanderbilt. This Vanderbilt got through that growth stage, and they're on a different level of pursuit right now. They're on a different level of maturity right now. I hate that they beat my Gamecocks this past week, but I will say this. It wasn't a fluke. They came in and they controlled that football game. They've got a different attitude, and they are going to absolutely destroy Georgia State on Saturday.
Who's the coach at Vandy?
A Mr. Clark Lee.
Clark Lee, that's right. For all you listeners of the show last year, we had a little mishap with the name, but we clarified it.
He has put himself and his team in a position where you're not going to mess up their names at this point.
No.
Anchor down, Hebert.
Hebert.
They're going to win.
For sure. All right, so here's another game that's not interesting at all. Not at all. Southeastern Louisiana. Didn't even know that they existed. Takes on a number 3, 3-0 LSU. Southeast Louisiana is 2-1. There's no stat lines on this game. There's no betting lines on this. Yeah, Nussmeier, I don't care what kind of performance he does. This still does not put his name maybe back into the Heisman. He doesn't say, okay, now it's Mateer, Beck, and Nussmeier, because this is just a warm-up game.
This is a paycheck game for Southeast Louisiana to go into Baton Rouge and see what they can take to the bank. I hedge my bet a little bit on whether this can put Nuss back into the forefront of the Heisman conversation. He's not out of it yet. He's been underwhelming. 689 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks through 3 games. That doesn't make you jump up and down and go, wow, this guy's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think that if they just truly put up basketball numbers against Southeast Louisiana, you could start to see him being mentioned again, maybe not with a lot of confidence that he's leading the pack, but certainly to get back in the conversation. But yeah, LSU in a huge way. This game's over at halftime, if not before.
That's right. Here's another game. Kind of interesting. An 0-3 Sam Houston is taking on a number 8 2-1 Texas in Austin. Texas is favored to win that game by 40.5 points. 51.5 is the over and under. Look, I believe without a shadow of a doubt that Texas wins this game. But I think the biggest question mark comes out of this game right here is, how is Arch going to play? That's the talk of the town.
It's the talk of the country. It's certainly the talk of the conference. I mean, because we're all still kind of waiting for him to show up.
Yeah.
As far as the Longhorns winning this ball game, I don't think anybody really doubts that. The predictor right now has the Texas Longhorns at 98.9%. Tell me that this is a slaughter without telling me it's a slaughter. Watson at quarterback for Sam Houston is 30 of 52 with 1 interception this year, 310 yards through the air. He's also carried the ball 24 times for 2 yards. 2 touchdowns, 108 yards. I digress. Does it matter?
No.
Arch Manning, 47 of 85. Not terrible, not good, but not terrible. 79 yards through the air, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, but he hasn't had any moment, not just that moment. He hasn't had any moment that says, hey, I'm Arch Manning. He hasn't had any moment that says, maybe you should talk about me in the Heisman race. He hasn't even had a moment that says, yeah, we're going to be back in Atlanta playing for the SEC championship this year because look at how well we're playing. It's been rocky so far this year for the Texas Longhorns. This needs to be a game where a couple of things happen. Arch, you're going to have to play all 4 quarters, big guy. And not just about something I'm going to get to in a second, but you have to play all 4 quarters because in my opinion, you've got to show your team, you've got to show your conference, you've got to show the world of college football that you actually belong where you say you belong, which is under center for the Texas Longhorn football team. It's going to take 4 quarters for you to bounce back from what you've demonstrated over the previous 12. Okay, so there's that. The other reason that Arch has to play 4 quarters, I bring you to the depth chart. Arch Manning is a 5-star recruit sophomore who's played in all 3 games so far this year, and I've already given you his stat line. QB2, Matthew Caldwell, a senior, no star recruit. He's played in 1 game, 2 for 3 for 22 yards, 2 rushing attempts for 13 yards. That's right, fans. No scores on either stat line for Mr. Caldwell. Trey Owens is a 4-star redshirt freshman. KJ Lacey is a 4-star true freshman. And rounding out the bottom of the barrel in the quarterback room, sitting on the back row as if there weren't any other seats left, Joe Tatum, another senior, no star. Folks, there's nobody there right now to come in for Arch. We've talked about before, when would Sark go to the bench? My question is, what bench? I mean, say what you want to about Trey Owens. He's a 4-star. KJ Lacey, he's a 4-star. But, bro, they've got no experience right now. Not only do they not have experience playing college football, other than being on the team, they don't have any experience in the SEC. Wow.
Think you know what I'm about to say. It's not a good look.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look at all, man. Wow. So, come on, Arch, maybe? Please?
It's time to wake up out of whatever funk he's been in. And I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know if maybe they're trying to coach him in a different way than what he's been coached his whole life by his, NFL Hall of Fame grandfather or his NFL Hall of Fame uncles. I don't know. I don't know if maybe Arch is in his own head. I don't know if Arch is another demonstration of that stat we've talked about a family business beginning to fall apart in the third generation. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe he's been going through a rocky breakup. Maybe he got a D on his chemistry test. I don't know what the problem is, Arch, but figure it out. Get out of your own head and lead this team like you're supposed, like we all believe you're supposed to be able to lead this team.
That's
Demonstrate,
right.
Show me something.
Show me the money.
Show me something.
All right. That leads us to one game left to talk about. A 2-1 South Carolina goes to the second Columbia, Missouri, to take on a number 23, 3-0 Mizzou. Mizzou is favored to win that game by 10.5 points, over and under 47.5. I don't know what to do with my hands when it comes to this game. I really do not. I think it all depends on if Lenora Sellers is under center or not. If Lenora Sellers is under center, I actually like Carolina in this game. But what say the chicken?
Let me lead off by saying this. If you had asked me at the beginning of this season about this matchup, I would have said a mirror image, meaning Mizzou would have been 2-1, Carolina would have been 3-0, and the predictor would have been 80% Carolina, 20% Mizzou. Reality has struck, and it's flipped. Yes, Lenora Sellers is a huge part of South Carolina football. There's no question about that. But on offense, there are 10 other guys on that field, plus the quarterback. On defense, there are 11 other guys on that field. So is Lenora Sellers the only thing that wins or loses a football game for South Carolina? No. He is a human highlight reel. We need him healthy. So if there are any cobwebs or butterflies floating around in that skull of his after that bell ringing he took last week on a targeting call, Vandy, let him clear out. Keep him out this week. I would rather have Lenore Sellers for the rest of the season and not have him for this game. Okay? You've already fallen out of the top 25. Let it be. The seasons have played out differently. I'll also say this. Rasul Faison got going last week against Vanderbilt. On the year, 27 carries, a touchdown, 135 yards on the ground. So what we were wanting all offseason long, free Sul, and he got free, and now he's starting to get into rhythm with the Gamecocks on the ground. Oscar Attaway, a power back for the Gamecocks right now, is getting going. We have the ability to run the football. The offensive line for South Carolina's got to get it figured out. They've got to put a full game together. If Lenoris can't go, what I would like to see, and Mike Shula has not called me to ask my opinion, what I would like to see is if Sellers can't go, I don't care who's under center. Let's have a controlled attack, because one of the things that Missouri will do to you, if they have time to play with and they've got the football, they will keep you from having time to do much but catch up. And when South Carolina was faced with that last week, it didn't matter how well they could actually run the football. They were having to play catch up to Vandy. So you've got to keep the ball away from Missouri as long as you can so that they don't have opportunity to just load up the lights on the scoreboard. Carolina still has an opportunity to win this game. However, if I'm a betting man, my money's on Missouri. Prabula has had a much better start to the season than I thought he was going to have for the Tigers there. I hate to say it, but I think that Missouri is going to win this ball game. The last I saw, they were favored by 12.5. But yeah, I think it's going to be a rough night in Columbia, Mizzou for the South Carolina Gamecocks.
That leads us to what?
Well, my Uncle Kenny happened to write in about this game, and I would like to share that with you. Here we go. Uncle Kenny, now brought to you by the Wild Goose Homestead on Facebook. Look them up. These folks are a all-natural product. They make what's called tallow body butter. I won't get into all of the details on what exactly that is, but it is all natural, and it does help the skin, helps round out the rough edges. Maybe my uncle should try some of that stuff. Here we go. Hey, kids, if you don't know by now, I'll repeat it again. 8-4 is the new 11-2. This league is hard, and if you want to survive the perils of SEC gridiron, you'd best buckle up and hang on tight as the summer moon wanes. Conference play is upon us, and principles are the only truth we've got in this world. Principle 1, expectation is still dragging you down. Remember the good old days when hope effervesced up along the Congaree? Also, Sprach Zarathustra, I don't know what it's got to be a song, blared, and the Gamecocks marched through the vista like Nietzsche's Ubermensch in garnet and black. Back then, a brighter future seemed just around the corner, but this year's expectation is the anchor around your neck. Preseason polls, Heisman chatter, endless prognostications, none of it blocks a defensive end. So true. Hope may spring eternal in college football, but in Columbia, it usually dries up by October. Right now, about the time the leaves and the Gamecocks begin to fall. Shane Beamer claps and grins, but clapping doesn't open running lanes. Principle 2, there's no place like home. Folks talk about Athens, Gainesville, and Tuscaloosa when it comes to SEC home fields, but Columbia, Missouri has quietly built a fortress of its own at Faurot Field. It's loud, it's rowdy, and it rattles quarterbacks who aren't used to cowbells, chants, and boos all at once. For the Gamecocks, that trip to the other Columbia is a nightmare. Odd flights, long bus rides, and a stadium where visiting dreams go to die. And this Missouri team, they're not just undefeated, they're proven. Beating Kansas wasn't just bragging rights. It was a declaration that the Tigers are balanced, physical, and ready for the SEC grind. Then they steamrolled Louisiana 52-10 for dessert. This doesn't look like last year's Missouri. It looks like their best version in years. 3, dudes. South Carolina's biggest problem is up front. That offensive line is more sieve than a shield. Lenore Sellers looks like the part. Big frame, strong arm. But what's he really done? Got knocked out of the LSU game? Lost a close one to Bama? His so-called signature win was against Clemson in the Tigers' worst year in a decade. That's like bragging you beat your older brother in basketball the first time he showed up on crutches. Until Lenore Sellers strings together wins against SEC heavyweights, he's more rumor than reality. And the league doesn't hand out respect for almost. Your Uncle Kenny said it back in July. If South Carolina scrapes its way to 7-5, it will be an amazing season. But don't mess this up, Gamecock fans. Beamer is a long-term solution at head coach. But this week, Nola Norris on the road at Missouri? ? The South Carolina Gamecocks are walking directly into a buzzsaw. Also, Auburn is toast, and call me crazy, but I'm taking Florida. That's principle 4, desperation.
Wow, Uncle Kenny. I have to agree with him, man. Eli Drinkwitz is, as much as we don't like him, or that's probably more so you, he's done really well, not only at that school and in his career, but also reloading and rebuilding. And you gotta, Brady Cook, he had Brady Cook those several years, man, and he did very well with Brady Cook. Now it's a new guy under center, and he's continuing to do well. So coaching matters. Ask Kirby Smart how hard it is to play at Mizzou at night. It's not an easy place, man. A national champion, they won the national championship year, almost lost to a Mizzou at night in Columbus, Missouri. So, or Columbia, Missouri. Not an easy place to play. Lenore Sellers down. It's going to be a hard win for Carolina if they could pull it out. I just hate to say that. I really do.
Yeah, and like I said, there's just in my mind, there's too many things that would have to go South Carolina's way to win this ball game. Number one, you've got to keep the ball out of Missouri's hands. That's going to be heavily dependent on can you establish and dominate a run game, which I think Carolina has the tools to do it. But as Uncle Kenny said, that offensive line's got to kick it into gear. The second thing that you've got to do is you've got to have a defense to trip up and cause hesitation in Missouri's offense. South Carolina is a young, rebuilding defense. They lost a lot last year. Now, they backfilled with a lot of talent, but it's a lot of young talent on that defense. Right now, the biggest question mark for opposing offenses is how do you stop Dylan Stewart? Because you're not necessarily worried about the other 10 guys. If you can keep Dylan Stewart out of your backfield long enough, because you're not going to keep him out of your backfield, period. But if you can keep him out of your backfield long enough to buy your quarterback time, then you'll be okay. Thus far, that's worked. It certainly worked for Vanderbilt. Can Missouri do it this week against the Carolina defense? I hope not. But again, I got Missouri winning this ball game.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But again, man, it's still early in the season. Carolina still, this would be, if they do lose, it'll be loss number 2. Now, 2 conference losses, that's tough. There's no doubt about that. But it's still early for this team to get moving, get that new defense, moving in the right direction. They're young. They're talented, but they're young. To get their feet wet, man, I mean, look, I wouldn't count Carolina's season completely toast, even if they lose this game. I would not. I still think they've got a good season ahead of them.
We talk a lot about this conference. Obviously, our show is about primarily this conference. We talk about the bright lights of college football. I would argue that teams in this conference are like the bright lights of college football. What do I mean by that? When you kick those things on, they don't just flip and boom, they're at their brightest because you push the power button. When you turn them off at the end of the evening, that glow takes a long time to wind down to black. And that's the way that it works in this conference for the football teams. You don't just become an instant powerhouse national championship chasing program overnight because you decide that that's what you're going to do and you're going to hire a Kirby Smart. It takes a season or two for those lights to get brighter and brighter and brighter and then begin to shine at their fullest. The same thing goes when a team begins to fall off the rails. It isn't an automatic fall off the cliff moment where you're just no good anymore. Look at Kentucky and the decline that they have had. It wasn't an immediate fall off the cliff. It takes a couple of seasons to prove, yeah, these guys are back at the bottom of the barrel. Let's talk about basketball. So no matter which direction you think that South Carolina is going in, I think that they're in that upward trend. I think the lights are still warming up. You can't judge the entire program on the season Carolina fan or anti-Carolina fan, the season that they had last year. It would make us guilty just as we were against Vanderbilt, right? Vanderbilt came in and showed out in Columbia last week, showing that their lights are still warming up. They are for real. It wasn't just a fluky season. Carolina, even with 2 losses after this week, if that's the way it plays out, Carolina's lights are still beginning to brighten, still beginning to warm up. Shane Beamer is your guy. I am as diehard a Carolina fan as anybody else. For the purposes of this show, I have to be realistic for our listeners so that I don't come across as opposite of what I know I am, which is a genius. And I've got to say that Missouri is all likelihood going to win this ball game. That said, my Garnet heart will pull for the Gamecocks no matter what. My Garnet heart says we're going to find a way to win this game. My genius brain says it's probably not going to happen.
Hey, well, let's hope that the Garnet heart prevails the genius.
There you go.
That's all we can hope for. Look, guys, that is the Week 4 forecast show. And, man, there's a lot of good football. Georgia and Alabama are off this week, getting prepared to take on each other next week in Athens. Boy, is that going to be a show. But all in all, some great football. I'm really looking forward to discussing in a few days what happened over the weekend. I think it's going to be a lot to talk about. I think it's going to be a whole lot to talk about. I think we're going to know. I think there's going to be some more questions answered as it does every week. Every week gives us a little bit clearer picture of who's who, right? So I think that's going to give us even more clarity of who's who. And I like it. It's great. I've got nothing else other than follow us, like us, subscribe to us, chickenandadog@gmail.com. Send us an email. Comment like you keep doing on the TikToks and the YouTube reels and stuff like that, guys. We love your comments. We love the interaction. Chicken and the Dog is growing, as you heard. We have a new sponsor. Things keep, and look, we got more things we're looking up at. There's a lot of more people, a lot of more activity when it comes to sponsorship. More and more people are watching this show. I'm hearing from all over the country, man. Some good, a lot of good, some negative, but that happens when Big Ten fans get involved. But I digress on that. Look, man, you got anything?
All crowed out.
Love us, like us, share us. Love you. Deuces.